Your Steve Jones Show podcast is loading now. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Sunbury Motors, North 4th Street in Sunbury, and Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf.
The pride of Butler, Chris Solari. I thought there was a big intro there. I got Butler in there. I got everything in there. All right, so Michigan State is interesting. They're 18-6. But I haven't felt like, with Michigan State over the years, there's just been times they've been so dominant. But they were dominant Saturday. Why?
Well, they got good point guard play, and that's been kind of the rub here for the last 2 years, in all honesty. I mean, yeah, it's hard to replace a guy like Cassius Winston.
Sure.
We all know that. I mean, that's a generational kind of guy within a program. But, last year they struggled with trying to move Rocket Watts into that, and he's now at Mississippi State. And Foster Lawyer probably at a better level for his physical abilities at Davidson now. Having a great year there, but, he wasn't kind of that big kind of guard that you see in the Big Ten. And, Izzo goes out in the portal and picked up Tyson Walker, and he came in from Northeastern, and I think he's had an adjustment period to the physicality and size in the Big Ten. I mean, this is a kid who, when he was at Northeastern, was able to get his shot, get whatever he wanted to do a lot of times. And, in his one-off games against Power 5 competition looked really good. And I think he had a monster game against North Carolina that kind of, a year ago, pushed him into this. But the day-to-day grind is what is different in the Big Ten. And, Izzo switched. Walker had started all the first 23 games, and kind of right away, he hasn't been bad. I think that's kind of the one thing. He hasn't been bad, but it's the adjustment period, and there's points where he, the physicality and the length of the guards overwhelmed him.
Yep.
And he switched to AJ Hoggard from out in Coatesville, which is a rare thing. I mean, first of all, you don't have a lot of kids coming out of a lot of these Pennsylvania schools into the Big Ten outside of the region. There are very few. I mean, I can think of right now. There's him, AJ Hoggard. There's Ethan Morton from Butler out at Purdue.
Yep.
And I think of the Shibway kid who's down at Kentucky. Who really isn't from here, but he played his last 2 years at Kennedy Christian, so we always adopt them.
Sure.
But Hoggard provides kind of a physical. He's 6'4", 210. He gets north and south, and he looks to pass. So he can score at the rim and in traffic, but he's also, when teams kind of respect that, he's able to kick out and do some things. And he's had moments coming off the bench where he's played out of control, and those roles switching with him and Walker clicked. Something clicked where they both looked. Walker was looking for his shot more, and I think he finished 5 of 10 and was shooting from outside. Hoggard finished with 15 points and got ejected, which I can't.
I was going to ask you about that because I saw because when you see he got ejected, you're like, well, I have to watch this. Chris, I don't get it. Number one, I don't get it.
We're all kind of perplexed by this. First of all, I mean, he had a tech early in the game. There was a double technical or something along those lines that, probably was a bad call in the moment as it was. But then all he was doing was standing and clapping and looking at Michigan State's bench, but it was pretty clearly directed at Xavier Johnson and Mike
Woodson.
Yeah, Mike Woodson kind of went off a little bit, and that drew the technical. But I watched it back, and none of us, until he was getting escorted to the locker room on the baseline, we had no idea that even happened.
Chris, I'd have teched Mike Woodson.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have teched the kid. I'd have teched the coach. Like, get back to you.
And he had already had one, too.
Yeah, you're the adult. Go back.
Yeah, so it was just a bizarre moment. And we were trying to think of last time we could think of any Michigan State players getting ejected. Like, I can't even remember the last time Tom Izzo got ejected, let alone one of his players. So
sure.
That was just a weird circumstance. But that's what they found. I think that kind of elevated everybody else around them. And Malik Hall continues to kind of become a lot more.
He is. You know what? I've been a big Malik Hall guy since day one. I mean, he may not be the star of stars, but I always felt like every time he came in the game, it's like, okay, he's a problem. I see him this year, and it just seems like he's embracing more minutes and doing it in such a way where he's really inside and out is a tough handle.
Yeah, and he has been, a real deadeye from outside, and I think that's kind of helped him quite a bit. I mean, he had the big game his freshman year. I think it was at Seton Hall where he hit, I think, 6 threes or something like that.
Yeah,
where people were like, "Wow, this kid looks like a burgeoning star," but consistency has been his issue. That's been the big thing, and he hasn't started a game. He's come off the bench every game, and first of all, from a captain standpoint, that's, I think, tremendous leadership. And we've asked him about it, if he would, because I thought maybe the two moves that I thought Izzo would do before that Indiana game was either swap his point guards in the lineup,
yep,
and potentially try and go small and bring Bingham off the bench. But I didn't think he would do both. I thought it would be, let's try one thing. Let's not, blow up everything. It was still a 17-win team at that point.
Right.
And, but Hall and Hauser have done a good job of balancing their minutes, and I think Hall's starting to get more minutes. Hauser has been, because he's not necessarily been the guy that people expected coming from Marquette.
But he's been better of late, though.
He has had a quietly solid season. He's improved defensively from a year ago. He's really been aggressive at getting to the boards, and I think particularly the offensive glass. I mean, I think he's been Michigan State's best offensive rebounding presence, and he's scrapped. I mean, he's just been a quiet, hit some shots here and there, and not have to worry about being the guy like I think he was kind of projected to be, particularly after his Wisconsin game last year when he had like 27.
Right.
But I think that's helped Hall, though. Yes, coming off the bench, and I think that's partly with Walker coming off the bench. Now you got a couple guys with Walker, with Hall, and then you bring the energy off the bench with Jaden Akins and the size with Julius Marble. It gives them a more complete second wave. In all honesty, and that's something that Izzo has talked about. And he talked about that with Purdue. He said that Purdue is like Noah's Ark; they've got two of everything.
Yeah,
and I think that's kind of what he wants Michigan State to be, to have that second wave to be able to kind of come at and blitz some teams off the bench. And I think they got 44 points off the bench in that game against Indiana.
Yeah, they did. When they played Penn State back in December, now obviously this is 2 months ago. But what impressed me about Michigan State was not just how they cut, but how quickly they cut. And Penn State really struggled with the speed with which Michigan State cut. Are they still 2 months later still cutting that way with that same kind of precision?
No, I think that's been the inconsistency. I think you've seen that with Max Christie and Gabe Brown in particular. I mean, they're not necessarily coming off the screens as hard, and some of it a little bit of fatigue because those two guys have been relied upon so much on the defensive end that from Brown's standpoint, his shot has been off pretty much since the early part of January. He had a big game at Rutgers, but that's been about it for him. And Christie, and Izzo talked about this yesterday, he kind of hit a little bit of the freshman wall because he's playing 30-some minutes a game and oftentimes finds himself on the opponent's best offensive threat, which is amazing for a freshman. But, I think that at times hindered his shot. He only took 1 3 against Indiana, and that's a kid that needs to be taking 4, 5, 6 threes. So but I do think the cutting, coming off screens and getting there for those two guys in particular is big, and that's something that they're trying to get a little more because they want those two guys to get more shots.
Tom's had obviously not just a couple he's had some great teams over the years. Then there was a point where he had like a one and done here and a one and done there. I mean, Miles Bridges should have been a one and done, but he was a 2 and done. Even Tom was confused by that. To be honest with you.
And Jaren Jackson was almost a 2 and done.
Right. Exactly. But this is a team, with all due respect, that doesn't have pros on it. I mean, yeah, they'll be pros, but they're not going to, we're not talking about first-round picks or anything like that. Is this more his kind of team in some ways?
I think so. Christie's probably the one guy.
Eventually, yeah.
I mean, you look at a lot of mock drafts right now, they've got him towards the back end of the first round, but you sit there and watch him on the court, and you see that this kid needs another year in the weight room to really push himself. He could push himself into the lottery with his shot and his willingness to shoot. And, his mom played women's basketball at Northwestern as an All-American star there, and that she's, I believe, a psychologist. So there's a lot of educational benefits I think that the family sees.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be shocked to see him stay a second year. I don't think there's any rush for him to get to the NBA, but that's the one guy where you look at and you say this is a kid that could be a pro. I mean, the rest of these guys, Bingham, Bingham struggled to put on weight for 4 years.
Yeah.
There's wonders if maybe guys like Bingham and maybe Brown and maybe Hauser come back for another year next year because they got that extra year. But no, I mean, Hoggard is an interesting case. I think he's going to have to be a developmental guy over the next couple of years, but he's not a first-round guy. I mean, I don't know if this is those. Believe me, if he loved those teams with that team, particularly with Brown or with Bridges and Jaren Jackson and Cassius Winston and Langford. When that team was at its best, that may have been one of his more talented teams.
No doubt.
Same with the 16 team that had Denzel Valentine and Bryn Forbes and all those guys. So, I think that, you think about the team. He likes 4-year guys, though. And, we're not living in a 4-year guy kind of world, sadly.
Yeah, it's the Mike Bray theory.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's stay old. And, and to be honest with you, I've started to perfect that. That's a personal thing. No.
I hear you. I'm creeping.
How do you look at, the coming off really a terrific performance against Indiana? How do you view tonight? I mean, do you know on a night-by-night basis what you're going to get?
No idea. I mean, there are times where you think and then, something like the turnovers will come up again and kind of take them out of a rhythm, or they'll miss some critical free throws. I think they've improved dramatically on free throws since January. I mean, they were at 71.4%.
78 now,
and they're almost at 82 or 83% in the Big Ten.
Yeah,
which is astounding. But
they're getting 21% of their points in the conference from the free throw line,
and I think that's what this team sees and recognizes and realizes. Well, this is Malik Hall said it perfectly. He's like, this is free money.
Yeah.
And if you've got the ability to get to the rim and get fouled, do it. And so I think they're starting to grasp and embrace that, and that takes that toughness that Izzo's been trying to get at. But that toughness has been wavering up and down too. It's and I think Tom's talked about this across the board in the conference that we've seen that. I mean, if you look, was it 4 losses right now at the top of the league?
Yep.
I mean, it's going to be a dogfight down the stretch here. And I think a lot of teams have had that same issue of consistency or performance. So that's something that they've been trying to get more of. But you really don't know. Sometimes it'll be Walker having an okay game, and sometimes it'll be Hoggard, sometimes Hall. So they don't necessarily have a go-to guy, but they have a lot of guys who can be at any given moment. And, tonight, I think that they want to get back to running the ball. I know they ran the ball really well in transition against Penn State the first time.
They did.
And I know Mike has done a good job of trying to correct that, too. And they've become a hard team to play against. And, it's amazing to me the depth of the Big Ten right now because Penn State's playing everybody hard. Rutgers has improved markedly.
Yep.
Even Nebraska and Minnesota are tough gets. So Northwestern, another veteran, experienced team where you see the age does matter. So it's going to be a wild final month here. Nothing would surprise me. There are very few times right now that I think I'd be – if Nebraska jumps up and bites Purdue, that might be the one game where I'd be like, what just happened?
Yeah.
But everybody else right now I think is pretty well-versed.
Yeah, Maryland almost did that.
Yeah.
And Maryland has not really been playing well. Maryland came off a blowout at home at the hands of Iowa and went to Purdue and took them to the final seconds.
Yeah, you can't. Danny Manning's had that team playing really well. I know Izzo really likes what he's seen from Manning, and it'll be interesting to see if he gets that job permanently. But we know this happens in the Big Ten every year, and we also know that come March, this part of February on to March, someone usually separates themselves. I'm not sure this year that there's one team other than maybe Purdue and Illinois that I can look at and say this team could separate itself. So, I mean, this could be a dogfight into the last weekend. It still might, even with those two teams.
Always a pleasure. Appreciate it very much. The pride of Butler.
One of the pride of Butler. I would not take it all on my responsibility myself.
Just, if I had Ethan Morton on the show, I would have said the same to him.
Oh, good. Looking forward to that. My friend Matt Clement, we grew up together.
Yeah.
He coached Ethan. And he's been the basketball coach at Butler for a long time. And Ryan, Ethan's dad, was supposed to graduate with us, but went to our 8th grade year, went to a rural school. So had some really good teams back then that we were part of. And me being, of course, at the end of the bench on the JV team when we won the Whippeal. I got a Whippeal ring out of it.
Hey, you could look years from now. You can tell them about I had 30 against somebody. Nobody will know.
I had a 4-point play. That's my claim to playing.
Oh, you did?
Oh yeah.
Take me through the play. No, seriously, take me through the play.
Oh sure. Okay, you want to? Okay.
Yeah.
3-on-1 break.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the game, and I had two guys open with the ball in my hands, and I pulled up for a 3, got knocked over backwards, and yelled at for not passing the ball. Ball went through, hit the free throw, 4-point play. I got a box score of it, and it'll live in infamy.
And there you go.
That's the basketball highlight of my life.
Has there ever been a show that's asked you about that?
No. There are very few places that even know that exist.
First for everything.
I'll when I get home, I'll take a picture of that box score and send it to you.
Please, I want it. Chris, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Steve. Take it easy, man.
You too.
All right.